Chosen one, not everyone will find this message. Not everyone is meant to. If you are watching this video right now, it's no coincidence God has led you to this point for a very deep reason. Because this isn't for the crowd. This is for the called. The ones who've walked through fire with no applause. The ones who've been overlooked, dismissed, counted out, but never destroyed. The ones who've carried weight in silence, felt shifts in their spirit long before the world changed, and moved with purpose even when the path was invisible. But before we dive into this life-changing message, take a moment to pause this video and do 3 things. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 20,000 subscribers, and leave a comment with the number 1. This number will send a powerful signal to the universe, amplifying the energy of this video. And if you are ready, trust me when I say that your life will never be the same. If this found you, it's because your spirit led you here. And that means something is being confirmed. Not explained, confirmed. Because deep down, you already know you're not here by accident. You've always seen through the illusion, the noise, the distractions, the masks people wear just to feel safe in systems that were never built for truth. But you weren't made for the system. You were made to disrupt it. That's why it's been heavy lately, why your soul feels stretched, why your life looks like it's unraveling when it's actually being rearranged. You're not breaking down. You're breaking through. This message is your reminder. You are part of the few. Not the proud, not the elite, but the awakened. The ones who feel what others ignore. Who move by faith, not by force. Who carry answers in their presence, not just in their words. You've been hidden on purpose. Not because you're forgotten, but because your reveal is being protected. And now, the veil is thinning. What was unclear is beginning to make sense. What felt like delay is turning into divine timing. But here's the truth. You won't be able to take everyone with you. Not everyone will hear the frequency you carry. Not everyone will understand the shift in your voice, the strength in your silence, the fire behind your calm. Let that be okay. You weren't made to be understood by many. You were made to activate the few. So if your spirit is stirring, if your heart is pounding, if your soul is whispering, "This is it," then know this. This message is not the beginning. It's the confirmation that you've already begun. Now walk like heaven is watching, because it is. You don't need another sign. You are the sign. The fact that you're still standing after everything, the storms, the silence, the stretching, is proof that you were built for this. Many were given the call, but few stayed faithful through the silence. Few kept walking when the doors stayed closed. Few kept believing when the voice of fear got louder than the voice of God. But you did, and that's why you're here. Because something is shifting, not outside you, but within. A deeper knowing, a clearer sense of timing, an unshakable pull that won't let you go back, no matter how tempting comfort looks. You've seen the signs in your dreams. You've felt the tension in your chest. You've watched old connections fade without explanation. And it's not random. The shedding is part of the strategy. The separation is part of the sanctification. You're being refined, not punished. Chosen one, your discernment has increased because your assignment has deepened. Your isolation wasn't abandonment. It was activation. To hear clearly, to move differently, to be prepared for what others won't see coming. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You were meant to disturb it, to carry a word, a presence, a frequency that awakens sleeping spirits. And that's why not everyone can hear you, because only those with ears to feel will know what you're really saying, even in your silence. So now, it's time, not to explain, not to prove, but to embody, walk into rooms like you were sent, because you were Speak with authority, even if your voice shakes, because your voice carries weight in realms they can't see. And when doubt whispers, when fear tells you you're not ready, remember this moment, this message, this divine confirmation that only the few could see. You're not one of many, you're one of the marked. Now rise. You didn't come this far just to be aware. You came to awaken others, to walk in rooms where confusion dominates and shift the entire atmosphere with your presence alone. To carry light into places where it's been absent for far too long. That's why you don't fit in. That's why your energy feels disruptive. Not because it's wrong, but because it's real. And in a world built on illusion, truth will always feel like rebellion. You've been called peculiar, difficult, too intense, too sensitive. But heaven doesn't choose the loudest. It chooses the deepest. Those who've wept in private while still holding space for others. Those who've carried weight that would have crushed a lesser spirit. Those who see what others won't even admit exists. You've become a vessel, not just for wisdom, but for divine timing. You speak and things shift. You move and doors open. You obey, and alignments begin to unfold in ways that defy logic. Because this walk isn't about logic, it's about alignment. It's about obeying the whisper that makes no sense to the mind, but resonates so clearly in the soul. And when you follow it, when you trust it, when you stop waiting for understanding from those not assigned to walk with you, you'll find yourself in rooms you didn't have to knock on. You'll speak words that didn't come from intellect, but from flow. You'll witness things move because you finally stood in position. So stay there. Don't move unless heaven moves. Don't rush the revealing. Don't water yourself down for those who only drink from shallow places. You were sent to stir depths, to interrupt cycles, to expose what's fake with your mere existence. Chosen one, this is the unveiling, and it won't make sense to the masses. It's not supposed to. Only a few will see. Only a few will hear. Only a few will feel what's happening right now through these words. And that few, they're enough to spark a fire that shifts the entire timeline. You're one of them. You didn't come here to play a role someone else wrote. You weren't born to perform, to conform, or to be agreeable just to stay accepted. You came here carrying something ancient, something coded into your spirit, long before you ever took your first breath. And for too long, you've felt the tension, the quiet discontent. You've nodded through conversations that felt hollow. You've smiled in rooms that drained your energy. You've stood still in spaces where your soul was begging to move. This isn't because you're lost. It's because you're waking up. The version of you that was built to survive is making room for the version that's ready to lead. And that shift, it doesn't come easy. It feels like isolation, like confusion, like a hunger for something that has no name. But that hunger is holy. It's your soul stretching. It's your spirit calling you back from the numbness of the world, back to the edge where your truth lives. You've always known the rules didn't apply to you, not because you're better, but because you're different. You see through things. You feel the undercurrents others miss. You sense when the energy shifts, when something unspoken begins to move in the room. That's not a burden, that's your compass. You weren't meant to follow maps drawn by those who never left the shore. You were meant to trust the wind in your chest, to walk forward even when the path is invisible, to speak even when your voice trembles, to lead even when no one is clapping. This is not the time to look for approval. This is the time to listen, to the stillness, to the stirrings, to the wild, unfiltered knowing inside you that keeps whispering, "You're not crazy. You're early." Others may not see it yet. They'll call it overthinking. They'll say you're too much, too intense, too sensitive. Let them. You're not here to be digestible. You're here to be unmistakably you, clear, aligned, unshaken by trends or opinions. So stand in the tension. Let it teach you. You stopped resonating with surface-level things for a reason. Not because you've changed randomly, but because your frequency has elevated. And when your frequency rises, the old can't hold you anymore. Not the conversations, not the relationships, not even the version of yourself you used to settle for. You felt it, that pull to go inward, to disconnect from the noise and listen to something more subtle, more sacred, more real. That voice is not doubt. It's direction, the kind that doesn't scream, but won't let you ignore it. You no longer find peace in pretending. You can't fake smiles like you used to, and the energy it takes to maintain old versions of yourself now feels like betrayal, not to them, but to you. You're not angry. You're done. Done carrying what was never yours. Done seeking comfort in places that kept you small. Done explaining your path to people who were never meant to walk it with you. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment. And alignment often looks like rebellion to those who are still asleep. Let them misunderstand. Let the silence speak for you. Let your decisions be your declaration. Because you're no longer building your life around what's expected. You're building it around what's true. And truth doesn't beg for permission. It reveals itself. It cuts away what's false. It dismantles illusions. That's what this season is doing. It's not breaking you. It's revealing you, the real you, the one who doesn't chase validation, the one who doesn't shrink to be digestible, the one who knows, even without proof, that something higher is guiding every step. You may feel alone, but you're not lost. You're in transition, and transition always feels like tension before it becomes transformation. So stay the course. Hold your center. Honor your knowing. Because where you're headed, only truth can follow. And you're almost there. You've been walking a line few even know exists. That space between letting go and stepping in. Between the death of who you were and the full expression of who you're becoming. It's not chaos. It's creation. And even when it feels like nothing is moving, everything is. You've been planted, not buried. And growth, real growth, often feels like silence. Like losing interest in everything you once chased. Like watching old identities crumble before your eyes. It's disorienting, but it's sacred. Because in that collapse, there's clarity. And in that clarity, there's the truth you've always carried, but couldn't fully claim. You were never meant to fit in. You weren't designed to follow a path. You are the path. And the more you step into that knowing, the more resistance you'll face. Not because you're wrong, but because systems built on fear always react to freedom. Let them react. Let them question. Let them fall away. Because you're not walking for their approval anymore. You're walking in obedience to something higher. And that obedience, it's louder than your doubts, stronger than your fears, and more powerful than any plan you tried to build without alignment. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep showing up as the version of you that refuses to betray their knowing. The version that trusts the unseen. The version that chooses truth, even when it costs comfort. This part of your journey isn't about force. It's about flow. Following what feels deeply right, even when it makes no sense to anyone else. Saying yes to what ignites your spirit. Saying no to what drains your peace. Because your peace is your proof. And your spirit knows exactly where it's going. Let it lead. Let it pull. Let it rewrite every script you were given. You weren't made to survive this world. You were made to shift it. And the shift has already begun. Because you did. You've always felt the edge of something bigger, like you were meant for more, but couldn't quite name it. Not fame, not attention, but impact. Not loud, not boastful, transformational. And lately, that feeling has intensified. Not because you're behind, but because you're being summoned. The world around you is speeding up, full of noise, full of performance. But your spirit is calling you in the opposite direction. Deeper. Not to do more, but to be more. More aligned, more present, more real. You've spent years editing yourself, polishing your tone, questioning your instincts, minimizing your voice to fit someone else's comfort zone. But the truth is, your voice was never meant to blend. It was meant to break open, to disturb the shallow, to summon the buried, to wake up those who've gone numb to their own purpose. And maybe that's why you've been feeling this ache, this sacred restlessness, the pull to disengage from what's familiar, the need to be in solitude not because you're hiding, but because you're hearing. You're not avoiding life. You're preparing for it, because what's coming won't require a louder version of you, it will require a truer one. The one that doesn't flinch when misunderstood. The one that doesn't shrink when resisted. The one that stands still while the world shakes. This next chapter doesn't need you to impress anyone. It needs you to embody everything you've learned in the dark. To walk with a quiet certainty that can't be stolen. To speak when it's time and stay silent when it's holy. You're not here to entertain. You're here to embody presence. To carry a vibration that disrupts everything false. To be a living reminder of what alignment looks like. Let others chase noise. You carry depth. Let others seek platforms. You move in purpose. And when the time is right, you won't have to announce it. They'll feel it when you enter the room. Because real power doesn't introduce itself, it's remembered. You've been walking through a season that feels like silence, but it's not silence. It's strategy. Everything that's been stripped from your life lately wasn't a loss, it was clearing. Clearing distractions. Clearing old energy. Clearing the noise that was blurring your direction. Because something in you is shifting. Not slowly, not casually, fundamentally. The way you see, feel, and move is no longer in sync with what once surrounded you. And that disconnect isn't dysfunction, it's activation. You're no longer who you were, and you're not yet who you're becoming. You're in the space between, where everything feels uncertain. And yet, you've never been more awake. You've stopped chasing things that once felt urgent. The need to explain yourself. The pressure to prove your worth. The exhausting cycle of being available to people who never saw you clearly. Now you crave what's real. Stillness. Truth. Unforced alignment. And that craving is your compass. You're not behind. You're not late. You're just no longer driven by fear. And that's why the old world feels like it's fading, because it is. Let it fade. Let what no longer fits fall away. Let the silence stretch long enough for clarity to finally speak. Because clarity doesn't come when you beg for it. It comes when you make space for it. And that's exactly what you've been doing, even when it hurt. You're not here to be everything to everyone. You're here to be anchored. And those who are meant to meet you in that truth will rise to meet you there. Not because you reached for them, but because you became undeniable. So stop doubting the emptiness. It's not a void. It's a hallway. And when the next door opens, you'll walk through it. Not with noise, not with effort, but with authority. The kind only found in those who didn't rush the in-between. You've been feeling like something is ending. And you're right, something is. But it's not your path. It's not your purpose. It's the version of you that was built to survive instead of lead. For years, you've carried responsibilities that weren't yours. You've shaped yourself around expectations. You've made yourself smaller to protect fragile egos, to avoid conflict, to keep peace that was never real. And now, your soul is rejecting all of it. Not out of rebellion, but out of remembrance. You're remembering who you were before the world demanded you be something else, before you were told to stay quiet, before your gifts were labeled too much, before your intuition was talked over until you stopped trusting it. But now, that part of you is coming back online. Not loudly, but undeniably. You don't even move the same anymore. You walk with more intention. You speak less, but your words land deeper. You're not forcing anything, and yet things are beginning to shift around you. That's because alignment speaks louder than action. And right now, you are aligning with who you are, with why you're here, with what no longer serves you. There are people who won't understand this new season, who will say you've changed, who will question your distance, your quiet, your clarity. Let them. Growth makes noise, but evolution is quiet. And you're not here to explain your transformation to those still committed to their illusion. This is the part of your journey where you stop asking, "Is it okay to be this version of me?" and start saying, "It's no longer okay not to be." Because you can't hold your light back anymore without it hurting. You can't dim yourself without feeling it in your body. The misalignment shows up as exhaustion now, as restlessness, as truth, trying to find a way out. So open the door, let the old fall, let the truth rise. You've always sensed something was different about you. Not louder, not better, just set apart. While others were content with routines, noise, and shallow goals, you kept looking deeper, asking questions no one else dared to ask, feeling things more intensely than those around you, and wondering, why does this feel like a burden when I know it's a gift? It's because you were never meant to live numb. You were meant to feel the edges of reality, to walk between what is and what could be, to carry a vision that doesn't come from the outside world, but rises from a place within you that can't be explained, only honored. And now, that vision is demanding space. You can't unsee what's been revealed. You can't unread your soul. You can't return to who you were when you've already started becoming something more. That's why nothing feels the same anymore. Why the things you once tolerated now feel unbearable. Why your body reacts to energy like it's trying to warn you ahead of time. Because your spirit is awake. And once you're awake, you can't pretend to sleep. People might say you've changed, that you've become distant, unpredictable, harder to reach. But the truth is, you've simply become honest. You're no longer available for roles that silence your voice, no longer interested in proving your worth, no longer willing to wear masks for temporary peace. This is what stepping into your own energy feels like. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. It's clarity after years of distortion. It's the decision to walk away from what drains you, even if it leaves you walking alone for a while. And yes, it gets quiet. But in that quiet, your spirit breathes. Your vision sharpens. Your next chapter begins. So stop waiting for the world to catch up. Stop looking for confirmation in eyes that were never meant to see you. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to awaken. And now that you have, there's no turning back, only through. You've reached the point where pretending no longer works. The smile you wear out of habit feels heavy. The conversations you used to entertain now feel hollow. The places that once felt familiar now echo with emptiness. And that's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of awakening. What once sustained you can no longer nourish you because your soul has grown beyond survival. You're not seeking comfort anymore. You're seeking truth. Not the kind found in books or quotes, but the kind that rises from silence, from stillness, from staring into yourself long enough to see clearly. You don't want more noise. You want clarity. You don't want more people. You want real ones. You don't want to be seen. You want to be known. And that desire is sacred. It's what separates the ones who stay asleep from the ones who choose the fire, because truth is fire. It will burn away every illusion. It will expose what's false, especially in you. And that's why so few choose it. But you didn't come here to live halfway. You didn't come here to mimic what others call success. You came to embody what can't be faked. That's why you've been feeling the tension, why the old ways no longer bring peace, why your body reacts when your soul is out of alignment. It's not burnout. It's not confusion. It's a sacred refusal to keep betraying your deeper knowing. You were never meant to carry all this weight quietly. You were meant to rise, even if you have to rise alone. And rising doesn't always look like more doing. Sometimes it looks like undoing, unlearning, detaching from what kept you safe but small. Let the unraveling happen. Let the false fall away. Let the quiet become your teacher. Because what's forming in this silence is the version of you that no longer seeks permission. The version that doesn't perform, it radiates. The version that doesn't chase, it attracts. The version that doesn't fear solitude, it requires it. You're not fading. You're emerging. You've been navigating a shift that no one around you fully understands. Not because you're broken, not because you're lost, but because you're finally being real with yourself. There's a quiet transformation taking place beneath the surface, a reordering of priorities, a dissolving of attachments, and a soft, steady awakening that tells you you're not who you used to be, and that's the point. You're not drawn to what used to excite you. You no longer crave the validation you once chased. And the approval of the crowd feels empty now because your spirit knows the difference between attention and alignment. That's why you've been pulled inward. Why isolation has started to feel more honest than small talk. Why your soul resists environments where your depth is ignored. Because you're not here to blend in. You're here to stand in truth, to walk in purpose, to carry a presence that shifts everything around it without saying a word. But this isn't glamorous. It's gritty. It's lonely at times, and it demands that you let go of the masks that once protected you. You can't hide behind busy anymore. You can't fake joy where there's no resonance. You can't force connection when the energy feels wrong. And that's not weakness, it's clarity. You're no longer asking, how do I fit in? You're asking, where do I flow? Because real alignment doesn't drain you, it fuels you. And you're learning that peace isn't found in keeping everyone happy. It's found in staying true to yourself even when it costs you something. This is a new chapter, one that requires presence over performance, depth over distraction, and purpose over popularity. Let others chase the illusion. You're here for what's real. So stop shrinking, stop explaining, stop editing the parts of you that were made to be seen clearly. The version of you that's emerging, it doesn't need to be louder. It just needs to be honest. That's the power, that's the shift. That's the truth the world is waiting to feel through you. You've been standing on the edge of yourself, feeling the pull to step into something you can't yet define. It's not a goal. It's not a title. It's a state of being that calls from beyond the noise, beyond the identity you built just to survive. There's a version of you that's not driven by fear, not shaped by who you had to be for others. A version that's not performing, proving, or pretending. And that version is ready to emerge. But emergence requires shedding. And shedding doesn't always look like clarity. Sometimes it looks like confusion, like losing your grip on things that once made sense, like waking up one day and realizing the life you've built isn't big enough for the soul you've become. That's not crisis, it's clarity in disguise, because something in you refuses to settle anymore, refuses to keep peace that comes at the cost of your truth, refuses to keep walking in circles around your own becoming. You feel the tension because your life is too small for your purpose now, and your soul is pushing out against the walls you once agreed to. This isn't about doing more. It's about being different, rooted, clear, unshakably honest. And with that honesty comes change. People may fall away. Opportunities may close. Your world may contract before it expands. But that contraction, that pulling back, it's sacred. It's the space where you choose you, fully, finally, and without apology. Because you were never meant to be a mirror for other people's comfort. You were meant to be a window, a glimpse of what life looks like when someone chooses alignment over acceptance. You're not behind. You're becoming, and the more you release, the more you rise. Let the discomfort shape you. Let the silence guide you. And trust, the version of you that's waiting on the other side of surrender is worth everything it took to get here. You've been sensing a subtle disconnect from the world around you, not because you're detached, but because you're becoming undeniably aware that the things that used to hold your attention now feel like noise, aware that the people who once energized you now feel distant, aware that the life you built from logic is being slowly undone by truth. This isn't a breakdown, this is the unfolding, the unraveling of what's false, the quiet death of versions of you that were only created to survive, and survival served its purpose. But now, you're here to expand. You can feel the tension building between who you were trained to be and who you actually are, between fitting in and standing out, between staying safe and finally stepping into the unknown where your spirit thrives. And this is the moment where most turn back, where they choose familiar chains over unfamiliar freedom, where they talk themselves out of transformation because the cost seems too high. But you're still here, reading this, feeling this, letting your chest tighten with recognition that you're on the verge of something massive. Not external, internal, because real shifts don't begin on the outside. They begin when you stop betraying yourself, when you stop calling your intuition overthinking, when you stop asking for permission to follow what only you were meant to understand. You don't need another sign. You don't need more time. You don't need to explain your process to those who cannot feel the frequency you carry. You need only one thing: to trust that your discomfort is data. It's direction. It's confirmation that the old container can no longer hold the magnitude of who you're becoming. So don't run. Don't retreat. Don't rewrite yourself to be easier to understand. Let the shift happen. Let it tear through everything false. Let it bring you home to the version of you that's been waiting beneath the noise, ready to lead from truth instead of fear. You've been feeling the inner pressure, like something inside is pressing against the limits of your life. Not to break you, but to free you. Because the walls you've built for safety have now become too tight for your expansion. And every part of you that once fit neatly into people's expectations no longer feels like you. You've played roles to survive. You've smiled when you wanted to scream. You've agreed to things that quieted your voice, just to keep the peace, just to keep the image, just to keep from being misunderstood. But peace without alignment is just a quieter kind of chaos. And now your spirit is done settling for silence that costs you yourself. You don't need to be louder. You need to be realer. And real doesn't mean reckless. It means rooted. It means shedding everything you've outgrown, even if it leaves you standing alone for a while. You've been conditioned to fear that solitude, to think something's wrong when things fall away. But the truth is, what's falling away now was never built to last through your next level. You're in the in-between, where the life you created to survive is fading, and the life you're meant to embody is waiting. But this time, it won't be built from pressure. It won't be fueled by proving. It will come from stillness, from clarity, from a commitment to no longer abandoning yourself to make others feel safe. This is not the end. This is the re-entry into truth, into alignment, into the original version of you before the edits, before the masks, before the noise. Let them misunderstand you. Let the room shift when your energy shifts. Let the space get quiet if it means you can finally hear your own voice. You weren't made to shrink. You were made to transform atmospheres. And you don't need anyone to confirm that. You just need to remember. You've been feeling like you're on the edge of something, but you can't quite name it. A quiet urgency, a pressure without panic. Like your soul is preparing for a leap before your mind has caught up. And that's because it is. You're not imagining the shift. You're not overthinking the disconnection. You're just finally noticing what your spirit has known for a long time. You've outgrown the version of yourself that was built for survival. The masks are heavy now. The pretending feels like betrayal. Even being productive feels empty when it's not aligned. That's not laziness. That's your inner life calling for authenticity. You're not tired of life. You're tired of living a life that doesn't reflect who you are becoming. And becoming requires loss, not just of people or places, but of stories. Stories you told yourself to stay safe. Stories that made smallness feel like wisdom. Stories that made you doubt the power of your own voice. But here's the truth. You don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer. And clarity comes through shedding, through silence, through saying no to what you used to say yes to out of guilt or fear. This is a sacred space, a threshold, the moment between two identities, the one you crafted to belong, and the one you're now choosing to embody because you've remembered your depth. You are not here to be everyone's answer. You are not here to keep systems comfortable. You are here to be a disruption, but a holy one. The kind that doesn't destroy, but reveals. So let what's leaving, leave. Let what no longer resonates, fall away. Let what wants to emerge, rise. Because when you stop performing, you start transmitting. And what your soul is about to release will speak louder than anything your words ever could. You've been holding back, not because you lack power, but because you've been taught to question it, taught to tone it down, to wait your turn, to make sure everyone around you is comfortable before you ever think about claiming your space. But your spirit was never designed to wait in line. It was built to lead, and leadership doesn't always look like titles or attention. It looks like clarity in motion. It looks like trusting your inner compass when no one else sees the vision. It looks like walking away from things that no longer feel like truth, even if they once felt like home. You've been sensing that discomfort, not because something's wrong with you, but because everything false is being pulled to the surface, and your soul won't let you ignore it anymore. This isn't a breakdown, it's a refusal to betray yourself. You're done pretending to be okay with half connections, done participating in things that no longer feed you, done playing roles that leave your spirit hungry. And though the letting go hurts, you know in your bones it's right. You're shedding weight that was never yours to carry. And what's left is real desire, real calling, real peace that doesn't come from controlling outcomes, but from walking in alignment even when the path looks uncertain. This is what remembering feels like. Not in your mind, but in your body, in the way your breath settles when you choose yourself, in the way your energy returns when you stop giving it to what drains you. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be aligned, to be the kind of presence that can't be manipulated because it doesn't need permission to exist. So let the shift happen. Let the old roles dissolve. Let the stillness guide you back to what was always yours. You don't have to force the future. You just have to stop denying who you've always been. You've been feeling like you're living in between timelines, as if one version of you is slowly fading out, while another is quietly being formed in the shadows. And that in-between space, it's not confusion, it's transition. You're not lost, you're not behind. You're in a sacred pause where everything that's no longer aligned is being peeled away, and what's real is being called forward. But real doesn't arrive loudly, it comes in whispers. It moves slowly, intentionally asking, "Are you ready to stop performing?" Because what's rising inside you now cannot coexist with who you had to be before. It requires truth, it demands space, and it will not compete for your attention. You've been programmed to hustle, to chase, to prove. But what you're feeling now isn't a call to run, it's a call to return, to strip away the noise and come back to the version of you that exists beneath the conditioning, beneath the fear, beneath the false narratives you once agreed to out of survival. You no longer need to earn rest. You no longer need to earn love. You no longer need to shapeshift just to feel seen. You've done the work. You've walked through fire no one clapped for. You've healed silently while holding space for others. And now, the time has come for you to rise, not for show, but for alignment. Let your choices reflect your evolution. Let your boundaries speak what you no longer need to explain. Let your energy be your declaration, because you are no longer who you were, and you don't need to convince anyone of your growth. You just need to stand in it. The version of you that's emerging, it's not waiting for permission. It's waiting for your yes. Not a loud yes, a quiet, grounded, unwavering one. The kind that reshapes your life from the inside out.